and I'll play the video right now. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, bonjour, hola, welcome to this dedicated session of CAEI Chile 2021, entitled Cities and Higher Education Institutions, an Essential Collaboration for Collective Wealth Creation. My name is Pierre Chastenay. I am a professor of science education at l'Université du Québec à Montréal, and I will be your host for today's panel. It is my pleasure to be with you today to lead this very special panel session where we will explore the intricacies of collaborations between municipalities and higher education institutions. Faced with increasingly complex urban issues, city and higher ed partnerships are becoming essential. In this regard, higher education institutions represent more than ever active players in the economic, social, and sustainable development of cities. And the desire for collaboration between these institutions is strong and is realized in several ways across borders. During the next hour, we will explore via the Montreal and Barcelona models how cities as well as their higher education institutions partner reinforce mutually beneficial relationships that generate collective growth. And of course, the City of Montreal is pleased to welcome the City of Barcelona for this exchange. Let me now introduce our first speaker for today's panel, Mrs. Véronique Doucet, Director of the Economic Development Department at the City of Montreal.
Good morning.
Good morning. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Madame Véronique Doucet joined the borough of Saint-Laurent in 1994 and climbed all its ranks until becoming its manager in 2012. As of March 2017, she heads the Economic Development Department at the City of Montreal, where she leads a team of 70 civil servants. Faced with a global pandemic and economic crisis which has hit the world head-on, Véronique has joined forces with key economy stakeholders to put in place support measures for a green and inclusive recovery and to respond to the most pressing needs of Montreal businesses. Véronique is also part of numerous boards of directors and generously contributes to various committees, including Quartier de l'Innovation, Jalons Montréal, and the Regional Council of Labor Market Partners of the Island of Montreal. Please welcome Mrs. Véronique Doucet.
Thank you. Merci, Pierre, pour cette présentation. I will do my presentation this morning in English, and it'll be a brief presentation just to show you and to talk about the model of Montreal, the way that higher education institutions come in collaboration with the City of Montreal. So the first part of my presentation, you'll see on the first sheet, if you can change page, please, is different numbers that you can see here. I won't go through all of them with you this morning. I invite you to read them at the same time I'm talking to you, but you can see that the ecosystem knowledge is unique in Montreal. And we consider the higher education institution like an economic sector in itself. It compares to big cluster of our economy by creating jobs, creating knowledge, creating innovation. So there's a lot of investment also that comes with higher education institution. So it's in fact part of our economy, and it's a big part of our economy. I would just attract your attention on one numbers that you can see on this sheet is the fact that there's $1.3 billion of investment done in research every year in Montreal. So it's amazing how the contribution of the higher education to our economy is important. And you can also see that it's the first ranked in the North America for the best place to study in America. So we're very proud of that fact. Now let's get to the collaboration in between the higher education institution and the City of Montreal. In fact, I should say more like a partnership. And I'm quite proud of what we have done in the last 4 years, because we really accelerated the partnership that we have with the higher education institution. And particularly through the crisis that we've been through for almost the last 2 years, it has been very, very important. So what are the benefits for both the city and the higher education institution? We both benefit from that partnership, right? That's obvious. The fact, first of all, that we have a city that is like a living lab. So you can try the innovation, you can test all kinds of innovation, to test new ways also to find new approach that can be done for the citizen of Montreal City. So there's all kinds of partnership that we built on the last years in between the city and the higher education center, and also the ecosystem of research, because you have the institutions, you have the city, but you have also a big ecosystem around all of it that really makes it grow. So I can just think like Montreal International that attract new talents here in Montreal. It contributes to the international renommee of Montreal also at the same time. So we have the pleasure to work with institutions, but we really do have the obligation to work together, because it's the way to build cities now. And we know that municipalities are forefront to all the crises that we know, like climate changes or diversity, inclusion, that social facts that we have to deal with now. So we're really upfront, and with high education institution, we can go somewhere else and be more intelligent, more innovating also in the way that we change the cities for the next years to come. So one of the things that we did in the last 4 years, the part of our model that we're presenting today, is the fact that we launched in March 2020 the Urban Research Hub of Montreal. What is the Urban Research Hub of Montreal? We had learned, because for, like I was telling you, the partnership with the High Institute is for now many years, but we had learned that it was not that easy to get in contact with the City of Montreal, or for the City of Montreal to get in contact with High Institute, education institution, and know what research has been done. So we created that hub that is like the central point in between the needs of the city, the evolution of the city, and also the research that are done by our academic, say, scientific, to make sure that there's a connection in between putting in the city the result of all the research that are done, and to make sure that the city has the reflex of getting with the high education institution the need that we have to answer to. So we can think here about rebuilding new neighborhoods, the transport issues that we have, the sustainable also economy that we need to accelerate even more due to the climate change that we have. So we have the opportunities to have a lot of academics expert in Montreal. On the first sheet, I didn't talk about the number, but there's over 5,500 expert scientific researchers in Montreal. So we have that benefit that we have to integrate in our works. So what does that hub do? It's the contact, like I was saying, the central point between the boroughs, the services of the cities, also the small companies, the startups, and the high education institution. We also initiate networks and engagement activities. So we stimulate the contact in between the ecosystem of innovation. And also one thing that is very important for us is we promote the knowledge transfer and the research results, because we learn over the years that many researches was done for like a borough, And the information of that research was not transferred to the whole city of Montreal or the other boroughs of the city of Montreal or services. So now that's one of the main factor of the hub, is to make sure that there's information goes around and that we're all more intelligent of that information. So that's the model that we propose. In that model, we also have different initiatives like the Série Montreal. Série Montreal is the way it works is we have researchers that we analyze over a lot of months. It takes about 6 to 8 months before we get the right match. So we see what type of research has been done. And we see also what are the needs of our enterprise. So what are the solutions that they need to solve, and we match them together. So that works very well. Now, as you can see there, we have over 1,000 business meetings that has been organized, and there's real result that you can see in that, with innovation getting into the small companies of Montreal. And also something that we did with this is we transformed the city enterprise that we have since 2015 to develop a new type of series that is for cities. And for the city of Montreal, like let's say we had problem with the snow removal. We need to get more solution or different solution to be more sustainable, more innovation. So we match again the searchers with the city professional to make sure that we found new solution to get to new way of doing things, more economic, more sustainable and everything. So Série Montreal is an activity that we do like 2 to 3 times per year, and we have very good results with that. And Pierre hosts a couple of them for us also. So it has been all the time a real pleasure. The other initiative that we did since 2019 is to have a workshop with our elected official. So there is a subject that has been chosen by the elected official, like let's say transport issues. They need to talk with searchers and have the real information, the information based on scientific research, to make sure that they really have the right way of thinking the problem or thinking the decision that has to be taken. So that worked really well. We did 6 workshops since 2019. There's 14 researchers that has the opportunity to present their research product, and elected official assisted to those presentation, and then they have been able to take better decision. So that's something that has been done since that time. It was the first city in the Quebec province that did that type of workshop. So we're very proud of that. And Montreal, I'm sure, will keep on going for the many years doing those type of workshops, because there's a lot of demands that we have from the elected official to go even further in those type of dialogue that we can have with searchers. So it was very fast, but I think you can see with that presentation that we have a really good collaboration with the higher education institution. We want to go even further, the way to work together. But for the cities and for the citizen of our city, it's the only way to work is together. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Doucet. Thank you very much. I'm sure your presentation has launched a flurry of ideas, which we will discuss later on during this panel, especially during the Q&A session at the end of this hour. But for now, let me introduce our second speaker for today, Mrs. Julia Miralles de Imperial, Chief Science and University Officer at the Barcelona City Council. Julia graduated in political science and law from the Autonomous University of Barcelona. She has completed the postgraduate degree in international relations at the Harvard Extension School, an advanced course in international law and economic crime at the Hague Academy of International Law, as well as a master in private international law at the University of Buenos Aires. She is currently an adjunct lecturer of public policy at the Autonomous University of Barcelona. She has also worked in the prevention of money laundering and is currently doing a PhD in anti-corruption policies. Please welcome Mrs. Julia Miralles de Imperial.
Hola, buenas tardes. Muchas gracias por la invitación. Quería confirmar en primer lugar que funciona bien la traducción por un comentario que había en el chat. Bueno, seguiré presentando en castellano, en todo caso, si hubiera cualquier problema me lo comentan. Bueno, es para mí un gusto estar aquí compartiendo esta sesión. Me parece muy interesante poder compartir impresiones y experiencias con una ciudad, sobre todo como Montreal, porque no es tan habitual, yo creo, que se hagan políticas desde el ámbito local focalizadas en la educación superior, ¿no? Y un poco también en toda esta vertiente más de investigación que nos explicaba ahora Veronique. Y seguro que luego podremos intercambiar entre todos, digamos, reflexiones y preguntas a futuro para seguir desarrollando estas estrategias. Así pues, yo voy a presentar un poco cuál es la política que hacemos desde el Ayuntamiento de Barcelona de relación y impulso y colaboración con las universidades, pero en realidad esa política se enmarca en lo que es el Plan de Ciencia de Barcelona, una estrategia que iniciamos en el año 2018, pero que de hecho viene de un poco antes, ahora lo explicaré muy brevemente, y que se basa en impulsar todo lo que es el ámbito de la investigación, del conocimiento y de la educación superior también, por supuesto. Así pues, en el año 2020 presentamos el vigente Plan Barcelona Ciencia, que la idea es desarrollarlo hasta 2023, si bien de hecho, ya en 2018 hicimos un primer plan de ciencia y desde 2017-2012 habíamos empezado con programas específicos de cultura y educación científica. A partir de aquí no voy a entrar en demasiados detalles, pero la idea es un poco empezar a desarrollar una política de ciencia y de conocimiento, una Barcelona de ciencia y de conocimiento que tenga en cuenta diversos ámbitos, no solamente los que son más vinculados a la cultura y la divulgación científica, y que son estos que ya desde hace años se trabajaban en el ayuntamiento, sino empezar también a tener una relación y una interlocución, colaboración y construir proyectos conjuntos en el ámbito de los centros de investigación y en el ámbito sobre todo de las universidades. Así pues, paso a comentarles, exacto, esto es un poco lo que estaba comentando ahora, ¿no? Esa idea de engrandecer un poco lo que era hasta ese momento el programa de ciencia para pasar a incluir muchos más actores, entre ellos los de la educación superior, por lo tanto, las universidades en las que nos queremos centrar hoy. Y podemos pasar a la siguiente diapositiva, por favor. Para contarles al menos muy rápidamente un poco cómo se engloba la política universitaria dentro de este plan de ciencia más general, en primer lugar tenemos como una pata que es la de investigación y desarrollo. Aquí sería más la relación y el impulso de proyectos de investigación que intentamos sobre todo que se focalicen en lo que son los retos urbanos. Y aquí Veronique también ha contado algunas cosas que me hacían recordar mucho a esta idea nuestra de intentar impulsar sobre todo una investigación bastante aplicada a los grandes retos urbanos, pero que son al mismo tiempo retos globales, ¿no? Que nos encontramos seguramente todas las ciudades del planeta y que por lo tanto a los cuales hay que intentar dar respuesta desde formas más innovadoras, y aquí me parece que la investigación y el papel de las universidades es central. Algunos proyectos rápidamente que tenemos, más vinculados a los centros de investigación y por lo tanto a la investigación y desarrollo, tenemos la suerte de que haya habido una apuesta muy clara del gobierno español para lo que se llama el coliderazgo en cultura y en ciencia de Barcelona, junto con la capital que es Madrid, y por lo tanto estamos desarrollando aquí una colaboración que consta de 20 millones de euros anuales de presupuesto, por lo tanto muy importante. Por otra parte, y más en relación con la Academia Europea del Conocimiento, en este caso celebramos anualmente el premio Hipatia, que reconoce una trayectoria científica relevante, y algunas de las otras experiencias que sí me gustaría contarles es, por ejemplo, esos premios a la investigación científica que pueden ver aquí a mano derecha que hicimos después de la COVID, ¿no? Durante el año 2020, y que se basaban justamente en que personas jóvenes, personas que trabajan en la universidad, sobre todo en investigación y que no tienen una trayectoria consolidada, pudieran desarrollar investigaciones vinculadas a los grandes retos de ciudad en relación al contexto que surgió a partir de la pandemia, ¿no? Para no alargarme más, pasaría al segundo gran ámbito de esas políticas de ciencia y de conocimiento, que sería la línea un poco de ciencia y sociedad. Este es el tipo de políticas que llevan más tiempo desarrollándose y que se basan sobre todo en acercar la ciencia a toda la ciudadanía, la ciencia y la investigación. Por lo tanto, cultura científica y divulgación. Un ámbito seguramente bastante innovador que intentamos trabajar es el de arte y ciencia, que como saben a nivel global se está desarrollando bastante. Tenemos un premio anual que es el premio Collide International, que se hace con el acelerador de partículas de Ginebra, el CERN, y tenemos también otros grandes proyectos como por ejemplo la Bienal Ciudad y Ciencia, que hemos celebrado ya por segunda vez este año 2021. Antes de pasar, una cuestión que sí me gustaría comentar es la Oficina de Ciencia Ciudadana, aquí también con proyectos que involucren a la ciudadanía en el proceso de investigación. Inicialmente se hacía más en la recogida de datos empíricos, pero cada vez más intentamos trabajar en involucrar a la ciudadanía en todo el proceso de detección de un reto para abordar, de diseño de la investigación y de recogida de datos y análisis. Me parece que es un proyecto bastante innovador y muy interesante. Esto también lo hacemos muchas veces con centros de investigación que forman parte de universidades. Y ahora sí paso a esta tercera etapa, digamos, antes de llegar justo a las universidades, que será en lo que me focalizaré. Tenemos todas las actividades de ciencia y educación. Y aquí, por ejemplo, los proyectos de ciencia ciudadana que ahora explicaba se han desarrollado bastante en escuelas. Cada año hacemos una convocatoria donde diferentes escuelas e institutos de la ciudad se presentan y algunos, lamentablemente no tantos como nos gustaría, porque la verdad es que tiene muchísimo éxito, pero tenemos la posibilidad de, en algunas escuelas de la ciudad, desarrollar más o menos durante 3 meses un proyecto de ciencia ciudadana juntamente con los alumnos, como una forma de acercarles a la ciencia desde la práctica, ¿no? Desde la práctica de la investigación ya desde años pues de bastante juventud. Tenemos otros proyectos de lo que se llama STEAM, ¿no? Que también creo que bueno, todos conocemos y se desarrollan mucho, sobre todo en relación a las vocaciones científicas de niñas y de adolescentes, porque el sesgo de género que sigue habiendo, sobre todo en determinados ámbitos científicos y tecnológicos, es una de las prioridades que intentamos abordar. Y luego grandes proyectos también de visita y interacción entre universidades y centros de investigación con escuelas, que es, por ejemplo, Escolar, ¿no? Un programa más de visitas y de actividades más puntuales de 1 o 2 días, no tan extensas como son los proyectos de ciencia ciudadana. Y ahora sí llego a lo que realmente quería explicar en profundidad hoy, que es la pata de este plan de ciencia, de esta política de ciencia y universidades que tenemos ahora en Barcelona, que es la que se dedica un poco a los centros de educación superior y a la interlocución, por lo tanto, y la colaboración con universidades. Para nosotros yo creo que un elemento central, y aquí también Verónica ha hablado mucho en la misma línea, es generar un diálogo, ¿no? Es decir, que las universidades no sean son grandes instituciones y evitar, por lo tanto, que sean grandes instituciones con dinámicas propias que escapan del día a día de la ciudad y de la ciudadanía. Por lo tanto, para nosotros es central esta idea del diálogo. Creamos por ese motivo el que es el CAMU, el Consejo Asesor Municipal de Universidades, que se creó en 2017 y que es un espacio de interrelación no solo de las universidades con el ayuntamiento, sino intentamos que sea más en relación de muchos sectores que forman parte de la universidad, es decir, no solo del equipo rectoral, sino de los equipos rectorales, pero también de los equipos de administración y servicios, de centros de investigación que forman parte de las universidades, de los estudiantes. Por lo tanto, una concepción bastante amplia de lo que es el colectivo universitario y que se relacione no solamente con ciencia y universidades del ayuntamiento, sino con muchos otros ámbitos que pueden tener colaboraciones o donde pueden surgir incluso necesidades de la administración que la universidad pueda ayudar a resolver, ¿no? Y aquí pienso mucho en esta idea de la investigación aplicada a retos urbanos. Bueno, tenemos 3 grandes líneas que hemos trabajado en el CAMU, que son las de infraestructuras, digamos, y equipamientos, luego la educación, la investigación y el empleo, y aquí sobre todo ha tenido bastante importancia recientemente todos los proyectos seniors de personas mayores, de educación a lo largo de la vida y un poco entender también la educación universitaria de una forma más flexible, no solo como esa carrera que hacíamos antes durante 3 o 4 años. Y luego todo es lo que es la transformación social, que aquí también pues la transferencia sobre todo y el impacto de la universidad y la investigación universitaria en la sociedad es central. Aparte de esto, el CAMU para nosotros es como el espacio central de interlocución con las universidades y además es un espacio multilateral, que es lo que nos parece que genera un debate y un intercambio más interesante, pero también tenemos acuerdos con las diferentes universidades que firmamos en 2018 un poco para ordenar toda esa interlocución y estos proyectos, múltiples proyectos que tenía el ayuntamiento con cada universidad y de alguna forma intentamos canalizarlos y facilitar la interacción a través de esos convenios, ¿no? Finalmente, otros proyectos un poco diferentes de estos que contaba ahora, que son más de cómo establecemos el diálogo y la comunicación. Tenemos algunos concretos que les querría comentar, también para no alargarlo, pero que intentan poner el foco en impactos que tiene justamente, como decía, la universidad en la ciudad y en la sociedad más en general. En el sentido, por ejemplo, de las desigualdades culturales y sociales que nos llevan a que, por supuesto, no en todos los barrios de la ciudad hay la misma llegada, ¿no? A la universidad. Hay muchos barrios donde el porcentaje de jóvenes estudiantes universitarios es muchísimo menor que en otros. Y en este sentido tenemos el programa Prometheus, que es un programa de base comunitaria que se creó a partir de unas asociaciones comunitarias del barrio del Raval de Barcelona y que lo que intenta es no tanto dar becas, es decir, el Prometheus ayuda a conseguir becas que dan otras universidades, pero lo que hace es, para mí, hasta un punto incluso más importante, que es romper las barreras sociales y culturales que hacen que determinados chicos y chicas, sobre todo los que no tienen familias universitarias, de alguna forma sientan que no puedan llegar a la universidad o su contexto y su entorno social les lleve a dificultades para llegar a la universidad. Prometheus es un programa, por lo tanto, de mentoraje que la verdad está teniendo un gran éxito. Desde el año 2016 en que empezó estamos intentando crecer mucho y ahora vamos a celebrar los primeros jóvenes Prometheus que se graduaron este curso pasado, que ya van a ser 15. Intentamos también hacer proyectos por ejemplo, de aprendizaje-servicio, que básicamente intentan que un poco el estudiante universitario tenga contacto con alguna comunidad, con alguna entidad, para intentar, digamos, mejorar el impacto de su estudio, de su formación universitaria y, si es el caso, de su investigación posterior en la sociedad, ¿no? En, digamos, las cuestiones que nos encontramos en el día a día de la ciudadanía. Eso, como sabéis, el aprendizaje y servicio, de hecho, se ha desarrollado mucho en Latinoamérica inicialmente y tomamos de ahí la experiencia. Y finalmente, y con esto ya acabo, los programas de doctorados industriales que estamos empezando a trabajar. Ya hay algunos en el ayuntamiento, básicamente son programas duales que se dicen, ¿no? De doctorado, es decir, donde se hace una investigación en la universidad, pero en paralelo se trabaja en una empresa o en este caso en una administración para tener una aplicación más práctica de los conocimientos que se adquieren durante el doctorado. Esto lo creó el gobierno catalán hace unos años y lo que queremos hacer ahora es impulsar una línea estable de entre 10 y 15 doctorandos industriales que se encuentren en la administración, en el ayuntamiento, trabajando en el día a día en temas también vinculados a las políticas urbanas y a los grandes retos urbanos. Así pues, para terminar, yo creo que si tuviera que resumir en 3 grandes conceptos la política con las universidades del ayuntamiento: diálogo, colaboración, con el objetivo de conectar la universidad a la ciudad y la ciudad con la universidad, que me parece que ha sido el gran reto que hemos tenido que abordar y que estamos aún abordando. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much, Julia. Very inspiring presentation, even though I might have missed some of the subtleties of what you said because my Spanish is quite rusty. But I can see several similarities and differences between Montreal's and Barcelona's models of collaboration with higher education institutions. So, Véronique and Julia, would you care expanding on these similarities and differences that you saw in the presentations, and what do they tell us about your own cooperation models? Who would you like to go first?
I could start, if you don't mind, Julia, it's okay. Sure. But in fact, thanks for the presentation, because it's very interesting that we can see there's a lot of similarities that we have in both of our cities. First of all, both were cities, so we have the same issues, same problems that we have to face too. And And the way of working with higher education institution is quite similar. I would say, first of all, though, that you have more experience than Montreal. We were not as structured from so many years as you are, but we can see that there's quite a couple of models that we could keep on increasing in Montreal. One thing I would like to say for the similarities is the way that you use the higher education institution to go through projects, to concrete projects. Like we have here in Montreal, the development of the east part of Montreal, in which we requested the help of the higher education institution to find a way to make it different, to make a change, a real change for the east part of Montreal. And I see that you have a lot of projects, also the same type of project that you work with. So that's interesting to see the similarity that we have in that part. The difference that I would say that we have is you work with schools. So the younger part of a school, we're not in there yet. I'm not saying that we won't go one day, but for now we're not there yet. And it seems very interesting, maybe the progress that you can do with younger students and the fact that you have interaction with the city. So that would be interesting to hear about from your part, the way you work with the secondary students and the schools, the lower level of schools.
It is indeed a very good idea. And I would like to hear you, Julia, talk about that a little bit more.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, just to comment a little bit on it, I think that what I've seen is that maybe you have created some kind of interaction between all the universities and the city council to resolve or to try to resolve this kind of urban challenges. No, I have to say, just to be a little bit critic or to see ways to improve our policy, that for us is not easy to work with the different universities in specific projects. When you work in a specific project, it's always easier to work just with one university. You know? So I think that within the CAMU, no, this council we have of universities, we have the challenge of being more specific, not just proposing things that would be great for universities and the city, but to get to the implementation of these things. And I don't know, in some point of your presentation, I've seen that maybe you have deal with that better than us. But just to comment also on the work with schools and institutes, I think we have what it's called the Consortium of Education in Barcelona, that it's a consortium that between the city council and the Catalan government, and it manages all the schools, all the public schools in Barcelona. And I think this is a great help for us, because in this consortium, they have a specific line of innovation and science, and they are very interested in working on that. So we work with them, we work with the Institute of Education of Barcelona, that is part of the consortium. And I think that the big point is that you cannot do all the scientific and research policy from your own. You need other actors also within the administration to be interested in it. And I think that this is what have made it possible to work with the schools, because of course, in our case, it's an entire world that you need to know and to know how to work with them.
Julia, I will come back to you in a moment, but I have a question for Véronique. In your presentation, you spoke about the Urban Research Hub, which I think is a very good idea, because in academia, we speak a certain language, and in the city council, we speak another language, and you need translators between the two. And I was wondering, what kind of expertise do the people who work in these hubs have to be able to talk to academia, talk to the council members, talk to the civil servants, and make sure that these people get on the same page? How do you do that? And what kind of special expertise or special talent are you looking for in these people?
But in fact, first of all, I have a wonderful team. It's a very small team. It's 3 to 4 persons that work specifically on that in the research hub. But it's profile that has to know about higher education institution. They all been there before, and they came in the research hub in Montreal with that knowledge. So if not, it's not possible. Like you said, Pierre, it's different language. We seem not to be on the same planet when we talk. So we need somebody to translate in between, but we also need somebody to animate, to make sure that we stimulate also the ideas, and to make sure that it's, like I was saying in my presentation, it becomes a reflex to think about higher education institution for us in the city, and the same way for higher education institution to think about the city as a living lab, as really an innovation captation that they can have with the city. So we need really special people that knows about both or the city or the higher education institutions. So it's very rare. So just make sure, Julia, I'm watching you. Don't come and get my people. I want to keep them because it's a wonderful team.
So these people are basically matchmakers or marriage makers.
Exactly.
Julia, I have a question for you. Something you mentioned, well, actually, you mentioned it, but I read it in your slide because I didn't understand exactly what you said, but you spoke about PhD in urban policies. And that, I think, is very interesting. And I don't know if Montreal has ever considered that, but, you know, creating like a research chair in urban policies, urban development, so that you not only tap into the expertise of academia, but you organize it in a way that there is a dedicated team of researchers that are working with you to develop new ways of doing things in the city and things like that. So Julia, would you please explain to us how this came about and how does it work? And what does that bring in terms of benefit to the city of Barcelona?
I think that this is a very good initiative that had the Catalan government some time ago to start offering some programs of PhD that are dual, meaning that they relate the practice that in general is done in a company, but it can also be done in an administration. And so this is the thing we are trying to profit. And so we would like to offer a line, but we would like, because now we are offering some PhDs in general in different issues in the city council, this kind of dual PhDs, not industrial PhDs are called in Catalonia. But we would like to organize a little bit more on that and to offer a specific line of PhDs in urban policy. So we need to do an offer between one PhD program of one university and one area of the city council. For example, I'm thinking on urbanism, on mobility, on elderly people, for example, because these are also, of course, urban challenges. And the idea would be exactly what you talk about, Pierre. So to try to focus a little bit more the research in universities, no, and the researchers of the future, because they are researchers today, but they will also be researchers for a lot of time, in the current challenges that we have in cities. I think that it's also a way to try to improve the interdisciplinary approach to research. We don't need just architects or just political scientists. We know architects that can think as political scientists and political scientists that can, I don't know, think as lawyers, as economists. This is more or less our objective.
I see. One other question for you, Julia. Another thing that you've presented is citizen science. And I find it very, very interesting to bring the common people into research and using the fact that they live in the city to collect data that can be used then to modify policies or create new ways of doing things. And I would like you to expand a little bit on that. How do you do that? Is it popular? Has it changed the way you see the city since the beginning of this enterprise?
Yes, I think these have been quite popular. Of course, with the pandemic, we had to stop a lot of these projects, and this has been complicated for us. But also, well, I think that this has been very popular from the very beginning, because really when people get involved in these projects, people really likes it. I think that one thing to improve is to arrive to more people. Because what we do is that we talk with different, for example, research groups, and we say, okay, we could work on an open science. No, we talk more now than collaborative science or things like that, but on a citizen science initiative on, I don't know, this mobility, for example, no? And then we work with the researchers, but of course, this group of research cannot escalate the thing to 10,000 people. So in general, if you really want to have a quality research, even if it's science research, you need to keep on relative numbers just to have scientific people to be beside it. But I think that it works very well. And we are also trying not just to have people collecting data that already makes them engage on the whole research project, but also, for example, designing what is the research question, what is the real challenge we would like to resolve with this project. And so I think this is also a way to keep working on science, on citizen science.
And I can certainly see the advantage of that, that's for sure. I would like us to look at the future, if you please. Based on the conversation we just had with you, Veronique and Julia, what collaborations could you envision happening between both cities, Montreal and Barcelona? And if we do some brainstorming a little bit, what do you see in terms of possible cooperation between the two cities? Maybe Veronique first.
Yes, okay.
And there's a dog somewhere who's happy with us.
Yeah, he's somewhere in my house. Sorry about that. But in fact, for the future, but right after that, the webinar that we're doing right now, we'll keep on working with Barcelona, because we need to talk more and to see all the progress that we could do together in the partnership. But for sure, I think we're both cities that need to learn from each other. And we need to keep on the work to make sure that we progress and finally and learn more of what you've done and what we've done, the model that we have, because it's quite, there's some difference in between our two models. Like just say you were talking about the the chair for urban politics. In fact, we decided to promote more collaboration in between all of the universities together. And that's one element that is very important for us, is to have the contribution of everybody and not just to be with one or two universities. So I think we still have a lot to do, and we have a lot to learn from you, and we can share together for the next years, to grow after that in another model, a different model that we keep on growing, for sure.
Absolutely. I would be very happy to also learn more from Montreal and think about how to improve and to grow on our scientific policy and universities policies, looking at your example. And I think that why really makes sense to do that is because incredibly we are seeing how the things that happen in cities nowadays are more or less similar, even if you can be in one continent and the other one being in another continent. And really, maybe it's more similar, the things that we have to face, than the things that a small village in Spain has to face in relation to Barcelona. No? So I think that clearly it would make sense to work together and to try to think new ideas on working with universities together.
Well, thank you very much. We now turn to the people who are with us during this panel session. I'm sure that the presentations and the conversation we just had have given rise to comments or questions. So we already have two people who expressed their desire to ask questions. So please turn on your microphone and ask your question, ideally in English, but if it's in Spanish, maybe Julia, you can translate the question, and then we will give you time to give us the answer. So who wants to go first? Please open up your mic and say hello.
Hello, how are you? Buenos días o buenas tardes, no sé qué hora. I don't know what time is it in Montreal or Barcelona, maybe 5.
It's 10:44 in Montreal. It's 10:44 in the morning. So what is your question, Mr. Tobin?
Yes, I'm going to speak in Spanish first. Era para saber cómo han resuelto el tema del inicio del programa. porque yo justamente estoy trabajando en el diseño de un proyecto de interacción universidad-ciudad. Yo vivo en una ciudad muy pequeña, I'm living in a very little town, about acerca de 40.000 habitantes, y tenemos una facultad de veterinaria. We have a veterinary faculty. I would like to promote this kind of program, ¿no? Promover este tipo de ideas y de proyectos. ¿Cómo fue el comienzo? How was the beginning of these two examples in Montreal and in Barcelona? How do? You design the program or the hub and then you contact the city council, or how? This is my question. Thank you very much. Excellent presentation, muy buenas presentaciones, Julia y Veronique. Y gracias, Pierre, por la oportunidad. Thank you for the opportunity, Pierre.
Thank you. So if I understand your question correctly, is how were these hubs created? Were they created in the city and then reach out to the institutions, or was it the other way around, or some kind of a dance? Okay, all right. So Veronique, you might want to go first.
In fact, it's many years of collaboration that we have with higher education institution. We made a deal in 2017 that we would create an office or a nub with the higher education institution in the city. So it first was put